You good? Come on, give me some flavor. How you doing? You should be proud of yourselves. You did it. You're free from your student just for a little while. So you're really cheering about that. That's fantastic. Well, listen, it's so good to welcome you to APU. Hey, I'm going to ask that you do me a favor. If you don't mind, let's kind of move up just a tad. Maybe let's kind of fill in some of these seats. This is going to be a nice family meeting for all the parents and family members. And so feel free to shift up a little bit while your student is connecting with their alpha leaders. And we're going to have a really special time this evening. All right? How are you feeling? Okay? How many people are tired? Raise your hand if you're tired. Look, I love parents. Parents are just honest. They're honest. And you're looking at me like this Denzel Washington look like, but he better get to it. He better get to it. I'm going to give him 3 minutes to get into this. Listen, I said that one time at a conference, and my wife looked at me and she said, and everybody emptied out of the room, and I went back and I said, hey, why'd you shake your head? She said, you know that Denzel Washington comment? I said, yeah, I thought that was funny. Don't ever say that again. Okay, thanks for the bill of confidence. I appreciate that. And some of you are laughing a little too hard, so I didn't appreciate that. It's awesome. Well, look, we welcome you. We are so thrilled again that you are now a part of our APU community. And as President Morris shared, thank you so much for entrusting your student with us. You're in a wonderful place where we value the institutional values that we call cornerstones: Christ, scholarship, community, and service. Hey, before you go home, before you get on the plane, before you drive back to the crib, you got to know those 4 cornerstones. Say them with me: Christ, scholarship, community, and serve. Okay, everybody together in unison. Christ. Let's try it in harmony. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. See, it would have took your students 30 minutes to do that. You're the elite. You're the best. Give yourselves a round of applause. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Well, look, this is a just for family conversation that we're having this evening, and it'll be about 25 minutes, so please stay awake. This is a 2-part session. So this evening you have me. I'm sorry. But I have the mic, so thank you for being gracious with your attention. And we want to talk with you through the journey and the transition of your student. And I do understand that some of you've had a number of students go to college, and you have a really good rhythm on what this process entails. But I also understand in an audience of this size, we have some parents that are doing this for the first time. And so we want to be a resource to each other, and we want to make sure that everybody's well prepared and have expectations oriented as your student starts this new academic journey. And so we're going to walk you through a few thoughts, and thank you so much for your participation in the conversation. So I will say this: I remember back in 1994, I know Alex told his story, but I got to tell my story. In 1994, I got into a Chevy van that was maroon. I'm grateful for that van, but it did not give me cool points at all. And my mom was the type of mom that would pull right up at the end of the school day, pull right up where everybody could see it, right? So I remember us jumping into the van, and I had all my stuff packed and had my backpack full, and we made the 3-hour drive to the college campus. And I remember Dad talking about how he's going to turn my room into a weight room. Just so insensitive. My younger brother's like, man, I'm going to get an extra piece of chicken. I mean, just really, I'm like, my family does not love me, right? And we're making our way down the highway, and the closer we get, the quieter the van becomes. And I noticed that my mom started crying. And it dawned on me that this decision that I was walking into wasn't just impacting me, it was also impacting my family. And so please know, as we have this conversation with you today and tomorrow, we really respect this as a sacred space. And we know that this is going to be an adjustment for all of us. But we're grateful that we serve a God who's going to provide. Can I get an amen from the congregation? Yeah, absolutely. And my dad, he was real cool in the van. And I didn't learn about this until like 5 years ago. And I said, Mom, you remember, because I talked to her about, I'll probably call my mom on the way home, to be honest with you. And I said, Mom, I spoke to the group, a group of families and parents about, my experience, all of you taking me to college and how you teared up. And Dad was being so cool. Keith, your dad was crying the whole way home. He's just never told you. And so, sometimes guys can sometimes be the stereotypical guy and act like, hey, it doesn't affect you, but it affects all of us. And so we want to make sure that we honor you as you adjust, especially on this evening. So I want to walk you through just some real quick information. Some of it will be humorous. Some of it you'll take note of. Some of it will be refresher for some of you. Some of it will be new information. But again, remember, we're going to be a resource to each other throughout this process. So I thought a good place to start is with the mindset list. I don't know if any of you have seen this before, but it's a list that's created year after year, and it highlights the cultural gaps that exist between this incoming class and typically the parental generation. And so I'm going to see if these items will resonate with you. First, your student has never licked a stamp. How many of you remember the days when you would lick a stamp? How in the world did we survive that era? Right now we got an adhesive back. Y'all remember, if you wanted to send correspondence to somebody, you didn't send a virtual gift card or a virtual birthday card. You actually went to the store, bought a card, you put in $10, $5 for you, and you mailed it. You licked that stamp, didn't think twice about it, right? But it's very true that this generation never, ever had the experience of licking a stamp. Thank the Lord. Praise the Lord for that, all right? Here's the second one. Y'all remember the rotary phone? How many people, raise your hand if you remember you old, a rotary phone. Yes, indeed. If we show this generation of students that, they were like, what in the world is that? I was looking at the list. They said the primary function now of most smartphones for this generation is not even to make calls, it's to take photos, to take pictures. Different generation. All right, how about this? If a place doesn't have Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, it's not cool. If you go to a coffee house and you can't jump on the Wi-Fi network, it's a no-go. If I go to Target, I better be able to log onto the Wi-Fi network. That's what this generation, that's how they feel. If you don't understand something, what do? Yeah, you don't go to the basement of the library, pull out the encyclopedia. How many of you remember back in the day when you would go to the Dewey Decimal System? Y'all remember that, the cards, and you had, 100 nickels in your pocket to make copies? Y'all remember those days? They're long gone, all right? Not at other universities, but definitely at APU, it's long gone. All right, here's the other one. So if you ask your student what these initials stand for, many of you here, what comes to mind when you see this picture? Most of you here, you think of Lyndon B. Johnson. Yeah, you see the cup. You ask your student, you know what they say? LeBron James. All right, any Laker fans in the room? All right, we're going all the way this year, going all the way, all right? All Laker fans go to heaven, amen. Okay, that's not in scripture. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. But if you are a Clipper fan, you're in bad shape. All right? Just tease it. All right, that's just a lot of fun. Hey, one other thought that I was looking at when I saw the list. Any of you remember the floppy disk? Remember the black floppy disk with the hole in? And now students don't even use like jump drives. Everything's in the cloud. Where? In the cloud. So how things have changed technologically. So one thing I would love to do is kind of walk you through this theoretical framework that's been coined by Arthur Chickering. who's a well-respected researcher in highlighting the developmental milestones that many college students go through, physically, academically, socially, relationally, and it gives us a sense. It's not always point on, but it gives us a sense of some of the changes that lie ahead for all of our students. So let me pause before I go through these different vectors. I want you to hear me very well. Here at APU, we place a strong emphasis on holistic development and success of students. And what that means is we are not content with students just going to class, going to their room, going to the cafeteria, going back to the room. We really want students to be engaged and growing as it relates to the whole person. We want them to deepen their faith. We want them to have a robust relationship with the Lord. So we want them to be growing spiritually. We want them to be able to think critically, intellectually, academically. We want them to be able to couple, how does my faith intersect with my academic major and discipline? We want them to think in that vein. We also want them to be healthy physically. And that's the reason why we have a health center on campus. They'll have opportunities to participate in workshops that stress the importance of nurturing their holistic well-being. We want them to be healthy psychologically and emotionally, and we want them to cultivate healthy relationships with peers, with faculty members, with staff, with others that they meet in the community. The point that I want to make to you, it's not all about just getting an A. That's important, no doubt about it. Scholastically, we want students to perform at an excellent level. I love how Provost Hink shared that. We want them to demonstrate excellence in every domain of life. But again, we want them to be successful holistically. Does that make sense? Can I get some head nods in the space if that makes sense? That's really important. And that's at the heart of our philosophical approach as an institution. And so some of those different domains that I just highlighted that pertains to the whole student are reflected in this particular model. So let's walk through it just real briefly. So the first vector, vector 1, developing competence. And so we see intellectual, physical, and interpersonal development. So I want to share this, and you see this on the screen. It's not uncommon for a student to change their major at the undergraduate level. And for some of you, it may become alarming because perhaps since your student has been 10 or 11, they've always shared with you, Mom and Dad, I want to be a chemist. And you're like, go ahead, baby, go ahead. I like that. And then after a week of taking general education courses, they share with you, Mom, I don't want to be a chemist anymore. Please do not respond. What have they done to you at that school? All right. I know you're not going to respond that way. Some of you are laughing, and some of you are like, that's going to be my wife. So listen, this is a time for students to explore. And we do have some students, they are very resolved about their major. And they go through the higher ed experience, and it becomes affirm their interest in a specific academic discipline. But some students, after they're exposed to general education, and they have opportunities to process with faculty, with other juniors and seniors in peers, sometimes they develop more clarity on their interest. Sometimes they develop a greater discovery of their wiring and how God has designed them. And sometimes that informs the way that they choose their major. According to higher ed literature, about 50 to 70% of undergraduate students change their major at least once. And so that is not uncommon. And so we want to put that on your radar. So that's important to know. That's vector 1, all right? Vector 2, managing emotions. So learning the power of emotions, understanding how to effectively manage them, balancing self-awareness and self-control. So I've been here at APU for 11 years. And I currently serve as the Vice President for Student Belonging. And so I have the pleasure of overseeing athletics, student affairs, and diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we have a remarkable team. You've actually met a lot of them today who have a love and passion for the Lord, but they have a love for students too. But I remember before I stepped into senior leadership and was a part of Dr. Morris's leadership team, I used to work in the Academic Success Center. And I remember one student walking into my office just heated, just frustrated, because she had made all A's in high school, and a professor had the audacity to give her a B plus on a paper. She stormed into she didn't even knock. And I'm like, wait a minute, I know your mom gave you better home training. She just bust into the office. She plummeted down into the seat, and she was really, really upset. And of course, I wanted to be as empathic as possible, because that can be overwhelming, especially if you've been accustomed to getting A's, all throughout high school, middle school, all right? And then for the first time, you see a different letter on a paper that you've never seen before. That was an adjustment for her. And she was getting riled up. And then right when she was about to move to the next level in her frustration, Mom called on the phone. And the phone was ringing. And she said, I don't even know if I want to answer it. I said, you better answer that phone right now. She picked up the phone. She said, hello. And I could hear the mom just a little bit. She said, hey, I know you're frustrated. I got your text. And she said, yeah, I can't believe I got a B. She said, did you read the feedback? I'm just upset that I got a B. I didn't read the feedback. And she said, she was real calm. Mom was just so smooth that she was like, and I won't call the student's name. I'll make up one. Becky, look at the feedback. Take a deep breath. Where are you at? She said, I'm in front of Dr. K. She said, just relax. Read the feedback. If you have any questions, go talk to the professor about your concerns. And I saw within 30 seconds how calm Becky became. She hung up the phone, and I said, that was a good conversation. She said, yeah. She said, what would you suggest? I said, do what Mama told you to do. Look at the feedback. And we actually went through the process of looking at it together, right? And we're like, hey, this is just one grade of many within a semester. This is going to help you perfect perhaps your writing, the way that you orient your paper. But it is good to go have a conversation with the professor, let them know your frustrations, and be able to get insights from them. And she did. She ended up getting an A in the course, and it all worked out. But this is a season when sometimes experiences that are unexpected will arise. And I was so grateful for the mom on the other end who challenged the student to be what? Calm and composed. All right, everybody, on the count of 3, take a deep breath in. Hold it, exhale. 1, 2, 3, breathe in deep. Hold it, exhale. I love it. I love it. I have a son who's a junior in college, and I remember last year he had a roommate situation, and they all got along. The only point of conflict was the distribution of food. Some of y'all know where I'm going with this. They had decided, hey, we're going to put in equal money for groceries each week. But the problem with that approach, some people eat way more than others. And they had one roommate that was literally going through like 3/4 of the Captain Crunch in one sitting. And so they had to have like a come to Jesus meeting. My son called me so upset. I don't even know, he's not even insightful. Why would he sit down and have 3 bowls of Captain Crunch? This makes no sense. And everything in me as dad, as problem solver, as this good-looking Denzel Washington lookalike. Everything in me wanted to tell him, son, this is exactly what you need to do. But if I would have approached it that way, I would have robbed him of a moment to support his autonomy and his development. And so I had to learn how to ask questions. I said, he did? He actually ate that much? What do you think you should do? I don't know. I'm just frustrated with him. Well, I don't think you should. Do you think you should approach him now? No, I'm not ready now. I said, yeah, that's probably wise for you to calm down. Probably calm down. No, you think you need about 15 minutes? Yeah, I need about 15 minutes. That's cool. That's cool. Do you think you should talk to him in front of all the guys? Because that may embarrass. No, I don't think I should talk to him. That's a good point. I shouldn't talk to him. So I was processing with him so that he could land and reach consensus on the action that he needed to take. That supported his own personal development and his autonomy. Is this making sense? Can I get some head? How many of you have done this before, parents with kids that are going through? Yeah, look at you. Give yourselves a high five. You did it right. You did it right. Give them a high five. Give them a round of applause. Look at them. They did it good. They did it good. That was a pitiful applause. That was so pitiful. Show them some love. Parents, families got spirit. It's fantastic. All right, let's move on. I stayed too long on vector 2. That was way too long. All right, vector 3. Developing autonomy. So that story, I just kind of highlighted it. Being able to take care of oneself both emotionally and practically, mastering the tasks, responsibilities that enable the student become independent. So my first job, technically my first job in higher education was as an RA. And I wish I could be honest with this crowd and say, hey, I wanted to be an RA because of noble and admirable reasons. I wanted to make a difference. The truth of the matter is this: I wanted my own room. And then it dawned on me that, hey, I can actually do some real good in this role. Hey, can we put up the lights? I just want to be able to see the people. This is family. I don't want to be up here. Yeah, that's good. Thank you, guys. So I remember a Saturday morning. I think it was around 10:30 in the morning. I remember this vividly. And I stepped outside of my dorm room, and diagonal from my room was the laundry room. And I hear like this boombox that's just playing this music super loud. And it's Temptations. I mean, it is really loud. Like, I got on a cloudy. Y'all are tired. Because usually Temptation songs will revive you. When it's cold out, I got the month of I get you. Say what can make me feel this way, my God. There we go. Very good, very good. So I walked out. That was pretty good participation. You get about a C+ on that. C+. It was decent. You rebounded at the end. So I walked out, and I look in the laundry room, and there's a mom washing her son's clothes. I mean, big box of Tide. She's dancing. She got a scarf on her head. She's separating the clothing. And I'm in my boxers on an all-male dorm floor like, what in the world is happening here? So I went back in my room. I put on some jogging pants. And I said, excuse me, what's your name? She told me her name. And I said, does your student live on this floor? And I'm praying like this isn't just a random person doing their laundry on our floor. She's like, yeah, my son, he lives right down the hallway in this room number. And I said, well, let me go grab him. And I brought him, and I said, Johnny, listen, you got such a sweet mom, and she's washing your clothes, but really you should be washing your own clothes. And I told the mom, I said, Mom, listen, if you don't mind, can I spend just 15 minutes with Johnny, and I can show him exactly how he needs to separate his clothing. Whites go with whites, the right temperature in water, all that. I said, I'll break it down to him. It'll take me like 15, 20 minutes. And you don't have to. She said, you'll be glad, you'll be willing to. I said, absolutely. And technically, you can't be down here washing your son's clothes. Now look, you leave that tin of chocolate chip cookies right there. So we always want to encourage families and parents to support the autonomy of your student. They're going to encounter challenges, but we do have an infrastructure of support on campus that can help them develop solutions. If your student is a residential student, on their floor, they have an RA. And that RA reports to a GRC. And that GRC reports to a AC. There's an infrastructure of support to help the student. If they have questions about engaging certain resources on campus, your student has an alpha leader that's been trained and they know where to point students for support. And if that alpha leader doesn't know, they're going to connect with some of our leaders in the co-curricular space to make sure that that student is supported well. And the same is very true. Like our faculty under Dr. Hink, they are phenomenal. And so if your student has a question about their academic journey or their academic plan, we have specific people who are more than willing to support. And so sometimes if your student calls and it sounds like a crisis, please problem solve with them, but don't rob them of the opportunity of growing in terms of their own personal autonomy. Can I get an amen from the congregation? Is that all right? All right. All right. Good. Thank you so much. All right. Vector 4. I stayed too long on Vector 3. All right. Vector 4, establishing identity. Students tend to deeply reflect on the question, who am I? Which is an important question. They reflect on and acquire clarity on their values, their beliefs, their spiritual identity, their ethnic and cultural identity. We really want students to have clarity about who they are and be fully devoted to stewarding it for God's glory. If God's giving them special giftings, relationally or socially, we're going to ask them the question, how are you using that to bless the lives of other people? Like I've met some of your students. Some of your students, they have strengths where they don't meet strangers. Like some of your students, I came up and they started talking to me like we've been knowing each other for 3-5 years. I love that. Others of you, you have students that really go deep in relationships. They're very introspective. They're very thoughtful. And not to say if your student's extroverted, they can't be thoughtful. They can be both, right? The bottom line is that we really want students to seize this as an opportunity to develop clarity on who they are, primarily their spiritual identity, and how it intersects with how God's calling them to serve in the world. Okay? Vector 5, freeing interpersonal relationships. Shift from valuing relationships based on need to valuing individual differences in others. We are a very diverse community. Everybody pause for a moment and look around this venue. I mean, we see different backgrounds, ethnically, culturally, people from different places across the nation and around the globe. I met a gentleman from Nigeria, all the way from Nigeria, that flew in for Welcome Weekend with his daughter. Isn't that phenomenal? Is that you? Raise your hand if you're in the space. If you didn't go, there he is. There's our friend. Go ahead and take a stand. Give him all the way from Nigeria. Fantastic. Fantastic. I think your daughter's name is Maddie. Is that right? Okay, I'm trying to remember all the names. By the time graduation rolls around, I'll have them down. All right? But we have students that come from different places, different background. That actually adds to the learning experience. And so we challenge students to engage. All right? Great opportunity. All right, Vector 6. Identify career and life goals, start to make choices to achieve identified goals. And our faculty do an exceptional job at helping students to start thinking about how God is calling their specific career. We actually have a career center here at APU that gives students an opportunity to take an array of assessments. Sometimes it's the Clifton Strengths Assessment. There are other assessments that can give them guidance on perhaps professional fields that they have a propensity to thrive in or similar interest in. And so this is going to be a great opportunity for them to discover some of their proclivities in that regard. And then lastly, Vector 7 is this notion of establishing integrity, reaching a level of maturity where the student is able to live with the uncertainties of life. And so everything doesn't have to necessarily be concrete. They can thrive in circumstances where there is uncertainty, where there is sometimes challenge, when things don't go as expected. They have the maturity to be able to pivot and understand, hey, I can land on a solution to deal with this challenge. And so that is our vision for your student. Again, I can't emphasize this enough. Our hope for your student is that they thrive holistically. We don't want your student to survive college. Man, I've heard that too often. People get to graduation day and you ask them, how was your experience? And they do that. I finally made it. That's not our vision for your student. Our vision is for them to thrive, for them to feel alive, for them to be challenged, for them to have enthusiasm and zest and excitement about what God's doing in their life, what he's doing in them, but also through them. Can I get another amen from the congregation? That's what we want. That's what you want for your student too. Yes, indeed. All right, so let's look. I've been talking long enough. What role does family play in the process? So listen, I want you to have a quick conversation with a family that's in your area around this question. Now, before you tackle the question, you're just going to take 2-3 minutes. Please introduce yourself. Find out where the person's from. Ask them, what's your student's name? What are some of their interests? Give them your credit card information, all that good stuff. Go ahead and get it out of the way before you get to this question, okay? Without the credit card information, of course, all right? All right, take 3 minutes and have that conversation with the family that's in your space, all right? What role does family play in the process? Okay, give you 2 minutes. Two. Check. Okay, give you 1 more minute. 1 more minute to wrap up. I know it's brief. 1 minute. What role does family play during this transitions process? Good to see you, Carl. I'll go through this segment and then we'll go straight to Paul. Perfect. Perfect. Hey, if you met somebody cool, can you raise your hand if you met somebody cool? That's awesome. And the family beside you, they're looking, are they raising their hand? I think we're cool. Awesome. Did you hear some good thoughts to this question? What role does family play in the process? All right. And I want to get some responses from the audience just real quickly. We're going to do this, maybe get 2 or 3 responses from the audience. Do we have any volunteers that are willing to share some thoughts that you discussed in your group? There's a hand right back there. Please take a stand if you don't mind. The mic is coming your way. What's your name?
My name's Griselda.
I'm sorry?
My name is Griselda
Griselda.
Pinedo.
Where are you from?
From Glendora.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Not too far.
No.
What was your response?
My response is definitely supporters.
Yeah, absolutely. Can we give Griselda a round of applause? Thank you for sharing. It's fantastic. All right, let's get some other responses. We got right here in the front. Coming your way. Thank you so much. What role does family play in the process?
So,
What's your name?
Frank Patton,
Frank, where are you from?
Chicago.
Chi-Town. That's fantastic. What role does family play in the process, Frank?
We said unconditional love.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Give Frank a round of applause. We appreciate that response. Your student needs support. They need to know that they're unconditionally loved. Students need to know that you're praying for them, right? You need to be intentional about saying that, not assuming that they know that, but reminding them. They need to know that if you're in Chicago or Nigeria or Glendora or Tennessee, anybody from Tennessee? No way, I'm from Tennessee. I'm born and raised. Which city? Nashville is my home city. Hey, y'all forgive me. We're going to have a quick moment. No way. Well, welcome to Southern California. Welcome to APU. Which high school did your student go to? Which high school did your student? Oh, fantastic. Well, glad you are here. That's fantastic. Y'all don't know it. Nashville is the home of country music. Did you know that? Home of any country music fans here? Fantastic. Born and raised in Nashville. I am not a fan of country music. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It just didn't. I know. I'm sorry. And I can say that safely 2,000 miles away from Nashville. All right, let's get one more response. What role does family play in the process? One more response. Come on, one more person. Oh, we have a hand right here. This is the last one. Oh, thank you. Please take a stand if you can.
My name is Jackie, and we're from Idaho.
Fantastic. Welcome, Jackie.
And so it's trust. We have to
Yeah.
trust that the things we have taught them and ingrained in them in the last 18, 19 years, it's in there somewhere.
Yes.
And they and they can find it when they need it.
Let's give Jackie a round of applause. That's so good. It's somewhere in there rattling around. I don't know exactly where, but hopefully it will emerge at the right time. Well shared. Well shared, Jackie. Thank you so much for sharing. So real quickly, we polled some of our students, and this will be the last segment that we discuss, and then we'll move on. And we asked them, what type of support do you need from your family members? And here's a few thoughts that some of the students shared that we polled a few years ago that may be relevant for, our consideration. They said, stay connected, but give me space too. I see a lot of you with head nods. I know some parents think, oh man, once I drop my kid off and we head back, we're done with them. I'll see you Thanksgiving. We're gonna renovate that room. Your mom and I are gonna have a good time. We flying to the Bahamas the very next day. Some of you like, that's actually our plan, right? So your student, even though they are a young adult, And you've obviously deposited incredible capacity within them, and you've developed them for this moment. And we're grateful that we get to be the village that continues the work that you've poured into them. But they still want to be connected. And that looks differently for different families. Like I've talked to some students, they have a natural rhythm when they talk to their family members and parents. Like they know Saturday morning, that's usually the time I'm going to jump on FaceTime. I can talk to mom and dad. I can talk to my siblings. I can see my pet poodle. And that's just the time that I know is carved out for us to really go deep and kind of catch up. Others of you, it's going to be more organic. And so maybe it's a text today. Tomorrow, we're jumping on a call the next day. Some of you, it's going to be a call every day. My only suggestion is that perhaps there's some conversation about what's the best approach to take. And sometimes having that clarity is helpful because your student may think, hey, I just need to talk to my parents one time a week. But you may say, hey, while I'm going through this adjustment, please show love to mom and at least talk to me every other day. It doesn't have to be long. And so sometimes having a sense of clarity on what that rhythm will be like, it can be helpful. Here's the second item that they shared. Please ask questions, but not too many. Now, there's a difference between being inquisitive and being an investigator. Some of you will be tempted to channel your Perry Mason. Okay, only 20% of you. Some of you got to live. I mean, Perry Mason. All right, Perry Mason. So, no, seriously. Students like it when parents ask questions because that shows what? That shows interest. You're expressing care. So students want to know that. But sometimes you can ask way too many questions where they're like, man, this is becoming a bit exhausting. But remember, you are the parent and you know what's best for your child. But be thinking about that. Like, what's the right type of questions to inquire about? One thing I would encourage you to do before the end of every conversation, this is something I do with KJ, my son. I do ask him, hey, man, what can I be praying for you about? At the end of every he's like, Dad, I'm trying to finish up a paper tonight. I know it's going to be late. I said, I'm going to be praying for you that God gives you stamina and that you perform well. Everything in me wants to say, why in the world did you procrastinate? Everything in me as a higher ed educator I want to make it a moment. You know better than that. I have a doctoral degree. Your mama got a doctoral. You know you shouldn't procrastinate. But I don't do that. I'll be praying for you. God, please help him with procrastination. But ask questions. Students love it when you take interest and you inquire, and especially when you remember and you circle back around and say, hey, how did that paper go? And then I love it when my son said, man, it wasn't my best work. Oh, man, what could you have done differently? Oh, yeah, that's a good point. You probably should have been a little more proactive. Man, I'm glad you thought of that. That makes sense? Yeah? Can I get some thumbs up in the room? All right, good. All right, here's the next one. We're almost done. Share your counsel, but allow me to think critically. So your student, they want to hear your wisdom. I promise you, you're going to get a call within a few weeks. And your student is going to present a scenario. And before they even put a sentence or a question mark on it, you know exactly what they need to do within the next 5 minutes to correct it. I'm still learning. And I have to resist the temptation of going right to the solution and robbing them of that learning experience and just asking questions that helps them land on what the best approach is for that specific situation. They want our counsel. We should share it, right? And there are certain things we just got to be direct about. Based on the godly wisdom that God has given us and how they're developing, sometimes we just got to be forward about some things without a doubt. And I think our students appreciate that. But I do believe that there are some scenarios and situations that we can allow them to grow and learn and develop autonomy and skill at being able to land on a solution, and it supports their ability to think critically. Here's the last one. Expect change, but please be supportive in the process. All right? Everybody knows that the collegiate experience is one that is riddled. It is filled with change. Shift in relationships, change in terms of their emotional development, change in terms of their physical development. Many of us would even, those of us who were able to go to college, we would say that, man, some of my greatest growth took place in those collegiate years. And I discovered things about myself that I just didn't know when I was a high schooler. Like they became crystallized when I was in college. And so that's to be expected. And I think if we orient our expectations around this notion, it really helps shield us from any forms of distress. Change is a part of the process. That's to be expected. And we're going to rock with it. We're going to grow from it. And if we navigate it right, they're going to become better, and then God's going to receive the glory out of it. Can I get an amen? All right, that's enough. I've been talking way too long. Hey, give yourselves a hand for staying awake and being attentive. Y'all were awesome. Come on, real noise, real noise. It's been a great day. Great day. AP. Come on, say it loud. AP. AP. Now, if you want to do it like our students, they're pretty cool. So they tell me, hey, Dr. K, APU is just too bland. And so when I say AP to students, they say, you know. Oh, look, there they are. There they are. Watch, they'll demonstrate. AP. You know. Let's try it, family. AP. You know. Y'all are cool. Y'all are super cool. Give yourselves another round of applause. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay, listen. This is a very sacred time, and this is a tradition that we've been doing for many years. We want all of you to be so kind to write a letter to your student right now, thinking about where they'll be 2 months, maybe 2 months and a half from now. We're going to hold those letters and deliver them to them after the semester has begun. And it's going to be a love letter from you that's unexpected. It'll end up in their dorm room, in their mailbox. How many of you will be willing to write a real quick letter to your student, just sharing with them how proud you are of them, how much you love them, that God is watching over them? We want you to take literally 5 minutes to write that letter. Listen, members of SGA, they have the stationery for us, so they're going to pass that out. For those of you who write really, really fast, if you can write a letter to your student, write the note on the note card, put it in the envelope. Please seal it. Please seal it. Do they have to lick the seal? Alex said, all right, please seal it if you don't mind. And then write your student's full name on the front of the envelope. Write your student's full name on the envelope, okay? For those of you who write quickly, and I need some helpers in the space, some members of our community. Listen, some of the students who are here for Welcome Weekend, their parents weren't able to come. And so will some of you be willing to write just a general letter of love, appreciation to a student who would also like to receive? Can I get some of you to volunteer to write a second letter for some of the students whose parents weren't able to be here? Thank you so much. So if you don't mind, grab a couple of cards and a couple of envelopes, and then we'll make sure that we put the name on the card for the student who doesn't have a parent that's represented today, okay? So go ahead and take about 5 minutes to write that love letter to your student that we'll deliver at the optimal time to serve as a source of encouragement for them during the semester. Okay, 5 minutes. Thank you, SGA.